Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2. What's up, guys? It's your boy. Oh, you're frozen again. Ah, bullshit. Yeah, this is bullshit, man. This is absolute bullshit. Hold on. No, can't hear you at all. Everything's broken. I'm gonna try hanging up the call and starting again. One sec, because that seemed to work last time. Let's give it another go. Can't even hear Theo. Even want to call. What the fuck is going on? Right. What is... I have to quit Skype. Quit Skype and then let's bring it all back. Quit Skype and then let's bring it all back. Come on, Skype. Get out of here. Try again. Sorry about this, everybody. It says the call started. What the hell? Try this now.
1, 2, 1, 2. Hello. 1, 2.
It seems to be
one.
okay now.
Hooray!
I think I'll tell you if you stop. Cool. We're looking all right. Hey!
Lovely.
Oh, I was this close to just throwing the mouse across the room and calling it a day. I'd be wrong though. It'd be a mouse. Some people have said that Skype gets slower based on how many contacts you have.
Based on
Yeah, and I have very few contacts, to be fair.
why would that happen?
Because I think the people at Skype are really bad at programming. I just think is the thing. So how's your break, mate?
It was lovely.
Good.
I had a wee.
Nice. I made another cup of tea. It was great. I had another cup of tea, and I've now used the last tea bag in my pot of tea bags, which I'm so happy about because we got given these tea bags at the beginning of the last lockdown as a gift. It was just Meg's mum wasn't keen on them, so gave them to us. Didn't drink a lot of tea at the time, so I didn't like them either, but I powered through them with the knowledge that it was a free box of 500 tea bags. So I'm like, fuck, I'm just gonna power through it. Think that this is what tea now tastes like nowadays, so that when I get some real tea, I can be blown away by it. And now I've used the last tea bag, which means that this weekend, and I've been
Get some friggin' Darjeeling, mate.
No, I'm gonna go and get some Yorkshire Gold. Oh,
Get
yes.
some oolong souchang or some shit.
I'm gonna get some Yorkshire Gold, and I'm gonna get some Earl Grey. I'm not gonna. Oh my god. Lapsang Souchong is actually pretty nice because it's all smoky. But I can't afford that. But I can afford Earl Grey, and I can afford Yorkshire.
Did
Gold.
I say it right? I knew that the general noises that I had to make, but I don't think I put them in the right
It's
order.
like at the beginning of a Secretly Incredibly Fascinating podcast where you're like, and I would like to recognise that that I recorded this on the native land of the Gabrielini, Otongo, Keech, and Chumash peoples.
Yeah.
I remember that bit. But it's Lapsang Souchong.
Lapsang Souchong.
The only reason I know that is because it's in that song by can't remember the song. Something Grant? No. May. Something. My, it's a beautiful world. It's in Scrubs.
I don't know.
It's in Scrubs.
Oh, okay. It always just makes me think of Lobsang Lud, who is a character in the Discworld novels.
Okay.
The Thief of Time, which is a really cool book. I need to get that, read it again.
Oh, we bought some books this weekend. Now, I'm not very good at reading books. I just don't have the energy for reading
So
books.
all them letters, mate.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I think it's because I just I like the process of reading at the time, but because I'm not a fast reader, I go over. I try and be faster than I am, and then I go over a paragraph like 2 or 3 times because I want to make sure I've got the right setting and I haven't missed anything, and I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that subconsciously. So in order to read a page, it takes me like 20 minutes because I'm reading the same paragraphs over and over and over again,
Well,
and
you
it
know
means
what
I
I
don't
do
make any progress.
with books that I want to learn from, not with books that I'm reading for pleasure, but with books that I want to learn from. I will lap dance soup shop. That's how you pronounce it.
Who's
Thanks,
that?
Meg. but yeah, with books that I'm reading to get something else of, I will read a chapter and then read it again. So I'll read through the whole chapter because like the rate at which you forget things short term
Yeah.
is astounding. But like even reading it and then 5 minutes later reading it again, it is a tangible difference, man. It's crazy.
I'll try that because, like, to be honest, reading has become a chore for me. I don't. I want to read. Like, there's a vivaciousness, there's a hunger in me to actually read something. I want to read stuff, but
Mm.
then when I do it, I get 2 or 3 pages in. And I'm like, fucking hell, I'm tired. I'm tired of
So
reading.
it's like there's a quote, can't remember who it's by, and I'm about to butcher it probably, but it's like what it makes me think of is if you want to cross the ocean, don't order your men to gather wood and build a boat. Teach them to long for the sea. So it's like for me, it's more about like I enjoy feeling like I'm taking things in. I enjoy feeling like I'm expanding my brain. And so like the reading is just it's not the reading is the boat, but the knowledge that I get from it is the ocean. Like I don't reading is just what I got to do in order to feel how I want to feel,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, again, I'd love to. I want to say that my desire to read does that to me because I do. Like, I'm not even. I'm not underplaying how much I want to read.
Mm.
Like, I really want to read. But there's another factor. And I think we've talked about this before, where I start reading, and I do this in conversations as well, where my brain gets ahead of me, and I've already done a load of work. So, like it says, it'll be something as simple as Marnie stepped through the door. And I've already imagined what Marnie looks like. I imagine what the door looks like. I imagine what the room that she's gone into. I imagined who's on the other side, what the other side of that room looks like. And it goes, of the bouncy castle. And I'm like, fuck! It's
Why
not.
does this bouncy
It's
castle
not.
have a door?
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, so fine. So Marnie stepped over the threshold of this bouncy castle. And I'm just imagining this, like, this Latino woman with purple hair, and it'll be like her beard fluttered in the breeze, and I'm like, why do I have to keep? So then I have to go back to the beginning of the sentence and go right, okay, Marnie has a
With this
beard.
new information
This
in
is a
mind.
bouncy castle. I'm gonna go read this passage again and not fuck myself over. So I think that's one of the difficulties I have with reading.
Hmm. Well, I mean, because there's two ways that you can read.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One is when you're looking at the words and absorbing them into your head, and one is when you're reading with your internal voice, which is basically when you read with your internal voice, you're actually reading out loud, but so quietly that you can't hear it. So your vocal cords are moving
I
while you're
feel
reading.
like I do read with my internal voice because I when I read I do notice that characters say things in the same sort of cadence that I say them, and they say them with a
Mm.
similar sort of voice that I say them.
Yeah.
I do definitely read him like whatever it is you said.
Mm. Well, it's like it's different ways of I think you can use them for sort of different applications, really. So like if I'm just trying to absorb the words, then I can, just look at blocks of words and take them in. And then I go through that. Obviously, by the time I've got to the end of that, I've forgotten it, which is why I go back and read it again. But like with a novel, like a story, then I will do that. I will sit there and read in my internal voice, and then maybe I will as well. Like I I think you can't help but to have an idea of what your characters look like,
Hmm.
because your brain needs a face to assign a person to. That's just a natural human thing, I think.
Like I wish that this was a thing with digital books, that it was like, okay, so how do you imagine things? Do you do, when if I was to say here is a room, or if I say here is a car, do you imagine the color of the car? Do you imagine what sort of car it is, how old the car is, how many people are in the car? Or do you want me to give you the description of the car? Like, and depending on what you answer for that, the book will take out large chunks of description because you don't
Mm.
need that because you're going to do that in your head anyway, and it actually takes away from reading experience.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I was to do that and they say, hey, um, so a book, an ideal book to me would be like a little bit of description, but not enough to paint the picture for me because I've already painted the picture. I don't need that.
Sure.
So if it was like uh, Jennifer, Jennifer stepped into the waiting car. It was old. It smelled musty. That's all the description I need. I don't need to know about how old the leather was on the car. I didn't need to know that the fuel gauge is broken. Like these are nice little tidbits for
That's
people.
that's
But
Bret Easton Ellis type of shit.
exactly, and also, oh, what's the other author that did it? Um, the one that wrote the Axeman, the jazz Axeman books. Anyway, um, it's a fairly recent book. It's about the murders in New Orleans, where it's based on a true story of a serial killer who would go around at night killing people unless they were playing jazz.
This I think American Horror Story had a character based on that.
Yeah, yeah, they did. Um, so yeah, the reason why I talked about that is because we picked up a book the other last week, and we did the thing that you're not meant to do, which is judge it by its cover. So we picked up a load of books based on their covers, and it was cool. It spoke very much to the aesthetic that I write my songs in, because it was this old sort of middle to southern America church, one of those white single steeple single room jobbies, and it was upside down. I was like, ooh, okay, turning religion on its head. I'm very happy with that. And it was called Tall Bones, and I was like, ooh, references to anatomy, references to death. I'm happy with this. Um, Turns out we opened it up and read the description. And then it turns out that the writer of it, is from Bristol,
Huh.
and it's their debut novel. And the
Mm.
day that we picked it up was the first day that it was released.
Really? Wow.
Also, there is a curated playlist on Spotify to listen to while reading the novel.
Really? That's
Yeah,
so cool.
it's very cool.
See,
I
that's modern novel writing,
That
I think.
is non-novel writing. I think that the playlist was definitely thought of like afterwards,
Oh yeah.
because if I was to do that, the playlist would have been a lot longer. Um, because there was definitely, it felt like an element of, right, I'm going to go and research what other playlists play the sort of music that I think this sort of aesthetic desire has, and I'm going to take a load of their songs and put them into a playlist.
Mm.
Um, so it was made from other Spotify playlists, but it was pretty cool. Like, Meg has discovered Orville Peck from it.
Orville Peck. I feel like I've heard of him.
you definitely have. You've probably seen him as well. He is a folky country musician who wears a wrestling mask and a cowboy hat, and is often pictured wearing not very many clothes.
Oh wow,
And the reason
an
why
interesting character.
the reason why he's pictured not wearing very many clothes is he's a gay icon.
So he needs to be half naked.
Well, he doesn't need to be half naked, but he's chosen to be. Um,
Okay.
but he's pretty good. He's pretty good as an artist. From looking at him, I was like, "Fuck me, I'm not gonna enjoy his music." But actually, one of his songs comes up, and I can tap a toe to it.
As long as he doesn't wear those stupid tassels in front of his mouth while he's actually recording a song.
He probably does, but I think that's why
Ugh.
he's got the tassels, because you can still get some sound through it.
I mean, you can get even more sound through with no tassels. That's all I'm saying. And if nobody's going to be looking at your face anyway, if you're only there to record the sound, then if you continue, it's like Michael Jackson wanting to bring his chimp into the recording studio. It's like I'd refuse to work with them as well. I mean, like, no, get your chimp out of here.
I don't think those are comparative at all.
No, they're probably not.
No.
But like, but it's like you're there to sing a song. You're there to get the best sound that you can from it.
Well, so here's what I do think it's comparative to. It would be comparative to someone saying, "Hey, I'm going to record, but I'm not going to record until..." Okay, Barbra Streisand. So I don't know. I listened to the podcast that we were mentioning last week, Rick Rubin's podcast, and he was interviewing Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees, and they were talking about Barbra Streisand and how Barbra Streisand wouldn't record anything until 2 a.m. And it was just because she would not sing until she felt comfortable singing. It's equivalent to that. It's a case of, I'm not going to sing until I feel comfortable, and I think maybe The Mask, as well as being like an iconic type thing and trying to look quite interesting and edgy, I think it's a case of this is the most I can cover my face, because for whatever reason, maybe it's because he's from Texas and is gay, that he does want to cover his face, but this is the least intrusive I can be about my singing by having the tassels in front of it, and that's also quite a Texan thing. I'm completely just sort of spitballing here, by the way. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was also spitballing.
Okay. The way you said that was just sort of a, look, I'm done with this.
I
right
liked
now.
you.
Look, can we just move on?
I was just, the whole time, I was just spitballing.
Just spitting on your balls.
God.
Right. This is getting a bit homoerotic here. Shall we go to some news?
Let's do yeah, let's do news.
Let's do some news. Let's do some news.
Do you wanna?
Do I wanna?
Do you want to start us off?
Sure. Oh yeah, you have some news as well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, how many pieces do you have? Because I've got 2.
One of them is yours. One of mine is yours, and bless me, bless you. In fact, I've also only got 2.
Okay, well, you go first.
Okay, so I'll start off with this one. Let's talk about the Grammys again. So Iggy Azalea has criticised YouTube and the rigged as fuck, as she calls it, Grammys.
Rigged as fuck.
So I guess what I wanted, I kind of, rather than talk about the news here, because we've covered this before, I kind of want to get your opinion on it. Do you think that the Grammys, the music awards, or the music business in general is a rigged system? If you do, how much? And if you don't, like, what? Why not?
I would be extremely surprised if there was not any sort of corruption. I would be, yeah, no. I mean, there is no way. There is no way when you look at the biggest companies in the world, for example, and the fact that they're not paying their taxes, for example, just because they're so massive and powerful, it is more effort. It would cost more to take them to court for that tax than they would lose by just not collecting the tax on it, whatever. And so, yeah, when it comes to Grammys and music awards, yeah, absolutely no way that everybody who deserves the attention is getting the attention, and we already know that. We already know. I think
Yeah.
Steve Beato, is that his name? Steve. He's a producer on YouTube, and he had a rant video up the other day, which is just talking about like, why are we still giving these older artists, these no longer relevant artists, why are they still selling so many albums while there are up and coming artists who aren't even being recognized? And it goes back to the whole, you need a million streams to pay, you need a million hits on Spotify to pay for a cup of coffee, or whatever that number is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like, it would be a real stretch for me to sort of believe that everything's all above board and proper.
Well,
and I think everybody knows it, and I think that the music industry knows that everybody knows, but it's, again, like, sue me, I'm in charge of all of this. Like, what are you going to do?
Like, I can see it starting off as a fairly innocent thing in terms of how the music system is rigged, because I think that around the 1960s and 1970s, I have a feeling that probably the music industry realized that there was more money in having people listen to new talent than to the same artists over and over again. I think it might have been due to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and those artists. Like, this is total conspiracy shit right now. So this is not me speaking from any amount of authority whatsoever. I just want to paraphrase that.
Cool.
And that I can imagine that they would have said, okay, so look, we have a small slice of the pie. Our slice isn't getting any bigger because the Beatles are bigger than Jesus. So how about, rather than trying to make our slice bigger, we just get more slices? So let's keep the slice that we have at the moment, but bring someone else in with a new contract where we can have a bigger slice and phase the old guys out. Because let's be honest, I don't think there's enough back from the 1960s until probably 15 years ago. I don't think that the music industry, maybe 20 years ago, the music industry was able, or at least consumers were able enough to choose what they wanted to listen to. It was all radio play. So if you had your stuff played on the radio, then that's how you got your stuff listened to.
Yeah.
So and you have to admit that there are new artists that have come in and have dominated and then gone out of favor again, and the more new artists have come in and dominated and come out of favor again. And I don't think that would have been possible if it was just up to the general public just to choose what they want to listen to. Because I think that what would happen if that was the case is we would still be just listening to Paul McCartney's back catalogue right now. So I think that's the case. So I think that, to begin with, the music industry was rigged so that the record company could choose the life of an artist, how much relevance an artist has. And now it's got to a point where it's become so rigged that they can't help but do shitty stuff with that.
Yeah.
Power.
Well, I mean, I feel like it sort of at some point, and I would actually think that the real decline, when I think back to it, do you remember Pop Idol?
Yes.
Which is like it was like the predecessor to like X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, all those sorts of shows now. And I think that not that series in itself being a culprit, but I think that's what started off the whole idea of people just, you know, throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. Because now when you have X Factor, there is so much of the show that is dedicated to laughing at all the people who weren't chosen.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the series is about uh, effectively pitting audience members against each other to whittle down to one person. And then after that point, where you spent all the money on those specific people to get them on the telly, then it's those specific people who people are going to recognize, whose albums they're going to buy. Those are the people you want to push. Those are the people you want to spend the money on. And if you have control over what music gets distributed where, you can guarantee whoever you want to be successful is going to be successful,
Yeah.
because you can just make sure that everybody has them. So like, and if I owned that system and I could without guilt do whatever I wanted with it, that's what I do to make money, you know.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you know what?
If you're the demand and the supply, then you can do whatever you want.
I reckon I can pinpoint pretty much the exact time when the record company, when the music industry realized that they could do whatever the fuck they wanted and started to.
Yeah.
December 2009.
Okay, what happened then?
That was Rage Against the Machine versus X Factor for the Christmas #1.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah. So
talked about that, haven't we?
yeah. So to go over that again, in the UK, there was this whole deal. So so X Factor. I don't think that there was the American equivalent at the time was The Voice, or they might have also had an X Factor, but X Factor is like our version of The Voice.
They had American Idol, I think.
Okay, yep. So it's our version of American Idol and The Voice, and it's all made by the same person. It's all made by Simon Cowell, and as a sort of protest to X Factor and the show and the way that they were, it was always dedicated that someone from X Factor would get the Christmas #1 because everyone's been following the lives of these people over the past 6 months. They and the Christmas #1 was in the UK is a prestigious spot to get because you end the year. You tend to be the song, especially if you're not a Christmas song. Like if you release a song that isn't a song about Christmas and you are the last #1 of the year, then you are pretty much guaranteed to be the face of that year. So as a protest vote, people said, okay, let's buy Rage Against the Machine's "Killing in the Name of." Is it that one?
Killing in the Name, yeah.
So let's all buy Rage Against the Machine's "Killing in the Name" as a way to try and get that to #1 instead of, who was it? Joe.
It was Alexandra Burke. Hallelujah, wasn't it?
No, it says Joe someone.
I'm sure it was Alexandra Burke. Christmas #1, 2009. Oh, 2008 was.
Okay, 2008. Sorry.
Oh, hang on. No, I'm misremembering this because 2008, Hallelujah by Alexandra Burke.
Okay.
But 2009 it says "Killing in the Name," Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
But I was sure that they were against each other.
It could be that we tried
unless
again.
Rage that tried again, yeah, and I just missed it.
Either way, the thing that went over the top of a lot of people's heads when they came, the reason they chose Rage, or the reason why somebody chose Rage, was because it was the anti-establishment band. It was, at the time, it was still the anti-establishment band. I think now the biggest anti-establishment band that we have is Takeshi 6ix9ine, and I don't want him to be anywhere near my children or my Christmas. So I don't think even he's anti-establishment. I think he's trying to play the system. I can't even think of the most anti-establishment band. It'd be the equivalent of Slipknot, I guess.
Mm.
5 years earlier. Um, so they were pitted up against each other, and one of them would win out. But what went over the head of the people who were buying the record is they're both owned by the same record company. Simon Cowell, who owns Sony BMG, maybe. I think it's Sony.
I didn't realize he owned it. I thought he was.
I can't remember.
I thought it was just a very high up position in basically everything to do with music. The music industry.
Let's go with that one because I think that one's more accurate than what.
Because I would argue that music and the music industry are very different things.
So Simon Cowell's, but essentially the same record company owned both artists, which meant that no matter who won, the record company would still get the same amount of money, and and it was at that point where record companies everyone went, oh my god, if we just did this all the time, we're fucking unstoppable. Let's keep doing this.
You know what? Like, I feel like that, though, I feel like that was a symptom. I feel like the problem had already started by then. And maybe that was like the explosion point. Maybe that was critical mass where they finally went, oh shit.
I think that was the point when the general public had the ability to go, hold on, and to prove the record company to the record companies that we weren't so easily swayed. However, we didn't. We did the whole thing, and there are a few sort of factors to consider. This was pre the download age, not download. Sorry, this is pre Spotify. So this was about. It was pre Spotify. It was post download age, but it was before you had access to all the music. So nowadays, it doesn't matter what you listen to. You can listen to whatever you want, and you still have as much access to it as the next person does. Back in 2009, if you liked an artist, you had to invest either time or money into supporting them or buying something, or buying a record, or burning CDs, or torrenting, or illegally finding their music. You had to invest something into that artist, which means that you had less energy, time, and money to divvy up between all the artists that you liked. So you had to zone in to certain genres and certain bands. And what happened was that everyone said, oh, rock is better than pop. And other people were like, no, pop is great too. And it was marketed as a, let's not allow another pop song to be number one for Christmas. Let's make it a rock song because rock is superior as a musical form. When actually, it shouldn't have been about that at all. And now we know that because
I don't think we do necessarily. I mean, we do, but I don't think we as a people do.
We do, and I think, hold on, there's a reason for that, and I can't remember what the effect is called. There's recently been a Cinefix video on it, and it's the reason why time loops are new zombies in film genres. So let me. Let's see if I can quickly find out some more info very, very quickly.
Well, I'm going to talk about my gripes as well with that whole thing, because you're right. Alexandra Burke and Rage Against the Machine, both of their songs are owned by Sony, and as well as that, what they decided to do to pit rock against pop, was to take a rock band and put up for Christmas number one their most pop song ever. This is a song that literally has 5 lines that are repeated over and over again, and for the most part, it's just it's there for the sake of the swearing, and that probably lent a lot to the whole contest, because it's like, you know how you were saying CeeLo Green Forget You wasn't streamed as many times as Fuck You.
Yeah.
Just because it's so edgy.
So
So listen to how many times he says "fuck" in this song.
so I think that we as a human race are learning about this sort of thing. We are getting better, and it's a thing. I've just looked it up. It's called the Flynn Effect, and it's the idea that when we were cave people, we weren't dumber. We just had access to less information.
Mm.
So as we get access to more information, we appear smarter, but we're not. We're just as smart as we were back then, and we are as smart as we will be in the future. We just have access to a different amount of information. So I think that record companies absolutely will continue to fuck us over. Yeah, 100%. We are going to continue to be fucked over by record companies. I don't think that's because we're dumb though. I think that's because we. Sorry, I'm just fixing your video. Um, it's not because we are dumber or we stay as dumb or we're more or less woke. It's just because the the sort of division between us working stuff out and getting access to more information is the same amount of information as record companies are getting. So that division is just going to continue to be there.
Sure.
So I don't think it's that people are stupid. I think it's that record companies are way smarter.
Well, I can see that gap sort of reducing then fairly quickly, I would think.
Okay, show you're working.
Well, I mean, if you're going to take, um, so that example of, you know, it's rock versus pop, and then us all going, yeah, it's rock versus pop, and wait a minute, if we're gonna follow that, I feel like because as you were saying, like we get access to more information,
Mm-hmm.
and so we seem smarter. We become harder to fool,
Yeah.
basically, because we've got that experience. But so I think I can really see it happening where people it becomes less easy to fool people into being fooled. So whereas before you were like dangling this carrot of rock versus pop,
Mm-hmm.
and people running after it and then getting wise to it. Because of that, the next time we see whatever the music industry is going to try and do to exploit our stupidity, we'll be more wise to the fact that the music industry is trying to exploit our stupidity, knowing that we're not going to realize it was stupid until they've already made all of the money off of us. And I think I can see that gap like closing slowly.
Yeah, I think the only reason I don't see that gap closing is just because the barrier to entry is the same. So therefore, as time goes on, the barrier of entry gets lower and lower and lower because we're access to more and more information. But that just makes it easier and easier for the record company to get ahead of us. Like I think I think there are still people out there that think that radio play is based solely on how many singles people buy, despite the fact that they have not bought a single themselves in 50 years.
Yeah.
So I think there are still people out there, but I think there are also people out there who are well aware that the music you play on the is played to you on the radio, or even let's go even further, the music that is recommended to you on Spotify is because a record company has paid Spotify to promote those artists above other artists.
Mm.
And the more people get wind to that, the more people are going to either be okay with it or demand change. If they demand change, then the record company has to either change because they've been asked to, or change ahead of time so that they are no longer asked to. And then I think the record company is always going to at least try and be ahead of the game,
Mm.
so that they are never on the back foot. And I think that's where real power comes in the music business. So to summarize, yeah, 100%. The music business is corrupt as fuck.
Super rigged.
Super rigged. I think the award ceremonies, yes, to a certain extent, are rigged. I think that why does it matter? It matters. That's also a really good question. Why does it matter? Why does it matter if someone wins an award? And I think it's because the people who are successful tend to be goal-orientated people. So and our goals are ratioed are representative of where we are in that process. So at the moment, Theo, your goal is to finish a video. My goal is to finish an album. Once I finish an album and you finish a video and we can do that consistently, that is a goal out of the way. We're going to set ourselves a new goal. We're going to you want to get a certain number of subscribers, or I'm going to get a certain number of listeners. And once that goal's been achieved, we're going to set ourselves another goal. We want to release something. We want to win something. And this is where these people are at the moment. They're at a period in their life where they can just release an album and it be successful. And they do have a certain fan following, and it's what they want. And they do have a reliable amount of money that they can rely on every single month to be able to live. And they can afford the things they want to afford. They need to. It is natural for humans to set themselves a further goal, and a natural progression of that is to be recognised for your work. And the best way to be recognised for your work is to win an award for your work. So, is it important? Not to people like you or me, but it is important. Because without that incentive, I think you'll have a lot of talented people who will stop creating.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like though, because I know if I make an album right now and people really like it, and if over the next 5 years I get really popular, I know I'm still not going to win any music awards.
Maybe.
Not because I'm not a good musician, but because I'm not what's it, you know? I'm not hip. I'm not the in thing. So it's like when Hosier, Take Me to Church.
Yep.
So that song really massively popular, like everywhere for a little while. And I watched not long after that a Tiny Desk concert that he'd done years before. And you know, I just
remind me. I have a story about Hosier after this. So
okay, well, I'm going to sound like an arsehole saying this, but
okay.
He was no Mona Lisa, right? Which was, he looked rough and long hair and unshaven and all that. Fine, but he did. After Take Me to Church became popular, he did the Victoria's Secret runway show. He was one of the guests on there.
Okay.
And they had combed his hair, they'd shaved his face, they'd put makeup on him, they'd put him in a black suit, and they'd done everything that they can to make him look less like Hosier and more like somebody who we'd want on Victoria's Secret.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't about it was completely separating one aspect of the artist from the other. Like, you might as well have got an attractive person to lip sync, because you're just saying, it's not about we want this song, but we don't want the minger who wrote it. We want the guy who wrote it to be shaven and in a suit. And so I know that even if I made a massively successful album, it's like the same reason that Metallica won't win a Grammy.
Well, Metallica have won a Grammy.
I was thinking that as I said it.
No, I see where you're coming from. And I think we also have to remember that Grammys are much more rigged now than they used to be.
Sure.
Because it's people trying to hold on to power. But I don't think that. I think you are still, even if at this point in your life you have resided yourself to the fact that you will never win an award, it doesn't mean that you will eventually reach a point with your journey where you won't have that as an aspirational goal. It might be an alternative aspirational
Yeah,
goal, but it will
but
probably be a goal at some point.
well, the thing is, I don't know how many people, how many aspiring musicians would have it in their head that they want to win an award, but seeing how it's the same few people every year winning the awards, how much people are going to be discouraged from even trying if that is their goal, if their motivation is I want to be recognized for the music that I make and I want to win an award.
Mm.
And 10 years down the line, maybe they've got fans and a following on YouTube, but they're not in the pop charts. They're not going to win a Grammy. And like, at what point do they go, well, this isn't going to happen for me? If they keep that as their goal, like, hopefully at that point you get into making the music enough where you're like, it doesn't matter about the Grammy.
Yeah, I mean it's I don't have the answer to that because I haven't got
Mm.
there yet. I can only imagine what I would be like if I can only imagine the set of circumstances that would have to befall me to get to a point where I want to get an award. Because at the moment, I don't care about whether I get an award. I just want
Yeah.
to release an album and have more than 5 people listen to it.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
you were talking a little while ago about motivation, your own motivation,
Mm,
and oh god, and you were talking about how you've been doing it for months, and you're only at so many subscribers. You only have so many people in the chat at once, and as a result of that, you had started to wonder to yourself if there was any point in you doing it.
hmm
And I think from that, like, how many people are trying to go after an award? How many people want to get into music so that they can win an award? And at a point where they've been doing it for so long, maybe they don't have a sense of how long it's supposed to take, or maybe they feel like they're getting there too slowly. But at what point do you keep chasing a carrot that seems to keep getting further away from you
Well,
until you just go, well, I'm not getting that carrot?
well, yeah. I mean, this is something I'm literally having to deal with daily life right now. With my
Mm.
job, like I was offered a carrot a long time ago. It's become very apparent I'm never going to get that carrot. Um,
Mm.
and that has demotivated me a hell of a lot. Um, so I think that's why this is important because there are some people like this is just a one symptom of how rigged the music industry is. So if you are in a position where your goal is, let's even bring it back a bit further. Let's not even talk about winning awards. Let's say you would like to grow your fan base. Let's say you want to grow your fan base to, and I think Spotify listeners is a really good metric, or even Instagram followers is a good metric for some people. But I tend to use either Spotify or Instagram followers as a metric for how successful or how popular an artist is because it's very measurable, and is not very much
Mm.
commitment on the behalf of somebody who wants to follow that person. So, let's say you wanted to grow your Spotify listeners to what's a reasonable 100,000 monthly Spotify listeners. If you realize that the game is rigged and that Spotify isn't going to push your music unless you know people or come up with a deal or are in a privileged position, you know that's not achievable. So then you're going to have to question to yourself, why am I doing this in the first place? And
Mm.
if you can be real with yourself and say, I'm doing this because I want recognition, then that's okay. You're allowed to have that as your reason. You're allowed to,
Mm.
like, again, going back to the Bee Gees, and it's only because of the fact that I've listened to this fucking podcast recently. The reason why the Bee Gees made music is because they wanted to be famous. Fucking Barry Gibb says that in the interview. I wanted the
Friggin'
reason.
worked.
Yeah, Yeah, for a little bit, and then they took fuck tons of drugs. He even goes into great detail about what drugs they liked. It's a great interview. It's a great interview. He's like, oh yes, Robin
I
Robin
like
liked
heroin with
amphetamines.
red wine, but I like cocaine with a rosé.
He's like, Robin liked amphetamines. I was partial to the grass. Sorry, my camera's gone fucked.
Amphetamines with fava beans and a light Chianti.
Sorry, my camera's gone absolutely fucking ridiculous for some reason. I can't tell you why. I might just have to just focus on something else for a moment, mate. But I'm just gonna have to talk without you being able to see me.
I can
So
see you.
you
Oh, can the stream not see you?
No, the stream can't see me because you're watching me from a different camera.
Okay. Believe me, he looks gorgeous.
I look amazing. So yeah, so like if you so yeah, if that's your goal and you know you're never going to achieve it, it disenfranchises you unless you can be real about your goals. And it's difficult to be real about your goals. I mean, look at this stream. This stream, I thought I started it thinking that the reason I wanted to start this stream was to try and get a transparent view and documentation of the music making process, and that hasn't changed. But I also have to admit to myself that the reason I started this stream was because I wanted a way out of the situation that I currently am in. It was a potential path to a way out and a potential alternative income. So if the more and more it comes out that the game is rigged from the start, the less people are going to want to play it, and there are going to be some real, there's going to be some real talented people that we're never going to see or hear or experience because they never try because the game is rigged.
Yeah.
I think that's the real shame of it.
On the other side of that, though, it's quite possibly like somebody would find their passion for making music before they realize just how rigged the system is.
Yeah, like we did.
Yeah, exactly. But at that point, you want to make music.
Yeah.
So like I used to when I had my old YouTube channel, I wanted subscribers and I wanted to be recognized and I wanted to meet like all the YouTubers and everything. And at this point, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why? I can't understand why that is what I was pursuing. What I wanted was ultimately a way to an outlet, because I've got ideas in my head and I'm a bit of a weird person, and that's something that I wanted to express.
I can absolutely testify to the fact that you have ideas in your head and you're a weird person. Yes. If anyone's wanting a character reference on that, I will stand up and say that. Yeah.
5 words.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Karen.
That's cool. But yeah, so like my focus with these videos that I'm making now, I don't want someone to subscribe. I don't want a bunch of likes. I don't care that the algorithm's not in my favor, really. I want to make the videos because I want to make the videos, and then maybe somebody finds them and maybe they see me do something and they find it useful. But either way, like if I do make these videos, I, like you, want to be sort of transparent about how easy it looks when you see other people do it compared to what actually goes into the bits that aren't being filmed that you don't see on a YouTube video.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like that in itself, like having people find it and then like it and then subscribe to it, for me is secondary to just knowing that I've put something out that is as honest as I can make it, where I've not pulled numbers out of my ass and told people that they need to be doing this to every project or what have you, where I've just done what I needed to do in the way that I do it, ensuring that I don't tell people that this is the way to do it.
Yeah, that reminds me, if you ever do an interview, and I am talking to you, Theo, and anyone listening, If you ever have an interview with somebody who is asking you about your music process, do not say, well, here's what you do. Say, here's what I do. Because it
Yeah,
really
exactly.
fucking pisses me off. And this, again, Barry Gibb podcast, he was like, well, I'd start off with the concept of a song, and I start off... So, no, you start off with the concept of a song. You start off with the chorus, because that's the whole thing. You start off with the hook, and then you build everything around that. No. Barry, you start with
You
the
do
chorus.
that.
You do that. And I was put on the back foot when I started listening to it, but I started to like it. We're starting to run out of time, so do you want to go to... What's your news story?
My news story, yes. So we're talking about...
Theo's brought one for us this week.
I've got one today. Oh, yeah, in fact, one of these was yours, so I only have this one.
It's okay.
So, we've been...
Because we're running out of time, we might just do this one and then move on to the wheel of questions.
Sure. So we've been talking the last couple of weeks about cancel culture, where an artist has said something in one of their songs or outside of one of their songs. It's upset people, and so they've decided that the entire artist needs to stop being allowed to do what they do. Artist St. Vincent, regarding this, has said, "Find me the person who has lived a flawless life." Which, like, as soon as I saw that, I thought, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." And I thought,
I'll do it, Daddy.
That's pretty modern Jesus. Yeah. Oh God, Mother, sometimes you really piss me off.
I was quoting The Simpsons. Yeah. So carry on.
Anyway, so I'll just read the opening paragraph. St. Vincent has criticized the idea of cancel culture and social media shaming, claiming that we should be able to use information, quote, in a way that causes less human suffering rather than more. And so she was talking. She's just released an album. She's releasing an album soon called Daddy's Home, which is based around her dad's imprisonment.
Okay.
So he was jailed in 2010, and he was released in 2019. And she said, "I wanted to tell stories of flawed people doing their best to survive and write about the human condition with humor, compassion, and a lack of judgment. Nobody's perfect, and people make mistakes, and people can transform, and people can change. If we don't think that's possible, then I don't know what we're doing." And just like RE cancel culture is a very merciless thing, where, you know, a song that you wrote years ago when you were a different person, a song that isn't even necessarily based on reality, can be brought back to bite you in the ass. In the case of Eminem, by people who weren't even born when he released the track, right? And it's just, it's toxic, and it's really damaging. And I think that it's good that St. Vincent has said something about it.
So,
but
sorry, Karen.
No, Karen. I think I was at the end.
Well, I'm gonna have a hot take here. I'm gonna say something that's kind of divisive, and I might make some enemies by saying this. I have decided that it is not up to anyone except you to decide who you do and don't want to listen to. And I don't think you have to justify why you don't want to listen to that person. So, a really good example, fucking Ian Watkins, Lost Prophets. I still listen to Lost Prophets as a band. Okay? You might not. Theo, you might not. Listener, watcher, you might not. And that's okay. And it's okay that I do listen to them. It doesn't mean I support what he does. It doesn't mean that you don't support the rest of the band by not listening to them. You have your own reasons for not wanting to listen to them. And that's okay. That's okay. And I shouldn't convince you or try to convince you to listen to them, and you shouldn't try to convince me not to listen to them. Like, And this is the issue that I have with the cancel culture, is that people aren't letting other people make their own decisions.
Mm.
So what really pissed me off about the Eminem thing was that people were saying, "Hey, Eminem said this bad thing, and if you personally are a good person, you wouldn't listen to Eminem."
Yeah.
Well, fuck you. I am a good person, and I do fucking listen to Eminem. So go fuck
Yeah.
yourself.
And that's the
Like,
thing. That's a deliberate thing. It's to try and scare people into agreeing. It's the same as, oh, if you disagree with me, then you're part of the problem.
yeah,
It's exactly the same, and it scares people into thinking, well, if I offer a different point of view, or if I disagree with a thing that they've said, then they're going to tar me with the same brush as somebody who say, oh yeah, well, I hope that Eminem did smack a bitch up, you know.
yeah.
And it's not, and it's a cheap tactic. It's really
It's a
a
straw man
really
argument.
shitty thing to do. But yeah, exactly. And the thing is that people know that it's a shitty thing to do, even while they're doing it, but they don't give a shit. They would hate for somebody to misrepresent them. They would hate for somebody to put them into the worst category just because they don't fit perfectly into their category, you know.
It's also an ad hominem argument.
Attack against a man, yeah.
Yeah, like it is a case of saying you and your opinion is not worth my time
Yeah.
because of what you are interested in, and if you try and argue against it, you're a bad person.
Mm.
So you're not only attacking their argument rather than, sorry, what fucking hell, you're not attacking the
You're
fucking hell.
attacking the person rather than the point,
Yeah, but
right?
also the strawman part, the straw man
Yeah.
part.
Strawman.
I,
Gary Strawman.
Gary, Mr. Spiderman, could you fill in this form, please? No, not in web, in black ink, if you can. What am I, Doc Ock? That's squids, Mr. Spiderman. Just on the dodge line. Yeah, so I bought myself so much time there, but didn't use it. Oh, I could have thought of it.
You're like, hey, this is fun. Okay.
Arguing semantics. Yeah, semantics is the word I was looking for, and I can't remember what I was using it for anyway. But yeah, so not only are you arguing semantics, you're also attacking the person rather than arguing against the argument.
And
itself.
it's a way to avoid the actual argument, and it's a cowardly way to avoid the argument,
and it's a fucking slippery slope argument as well, because
and a
saying,
no true Scotsman.
What?
No true Scotsman.
What's that?
So, for example, when somebody says, well, no Scotsman would ever do this, and then you provide them an example of a Scotsman who's done that, and their response to that is, well, no true Scotsman, but like he wasn't a proper Scotsman. And it's the same as, oh, a Christian would never do that. Well, this guy was a Christian. He did. Well, he wasn't a good Christian. Well, why is it your call?
So, if anything, the reason why you should be against cancel culture is because it forces you to break multiple laws of arguing by being part of it. If you're that sort of person that enjoys a good debate, that's a good enough reason for you to not be on board with cancel culture. Secondly, it's also not fucking fair.
Like, if you're actually interested in discussing it, if you just want to be agreed with, then I think it's better to keep your mouth shut, because you're not going to be agreed with.
Exactly. And I think that
not universe.
It's also sort of a symptom of the culture we have at the moment, where, and it's exactly what you were saying earlier about being tarred with the same brush and not being liked. We're in a culture right now where our worth is determined by how much or how many times someone likes us. Like that's what our culture is about at the moment. Facebook and Instagram, it's about how much people like us. And I struggle with this every single day, by the way. I haven't got the high ground, Obi-Wan. Anakin, fucking I'll mix it up.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Gandalf. I'm not saying this from a place of I've got it all figured out, because I don't. I struggle every day with the fact that people do not like me. And I worry about the fact that people don't like me. And I worry about the fact that people who I don't like me. I don't care if you don't like, I don't care if I don't like you. I don't want you to not like me. Like, I do this all the time, and it
It's
affects
crazy.
me, and it
Yeah.
affects my music, and it affects my day-to-day life. And that's all part of this whole system and symptom. But I do want to sort of bring in a positive note here. It's still better than it used to be. Like, if you think back 100 years, what the sort of culture we had 100 years ago was, people like you and me not only would not be allowed our opinions, we would have been beaten in the street for them.
Yeah.
Especially you.
You're not wrong, Lawrence. You're just an asshole.
Oh,
Especially you.
I think, you know what? I think this is actually kind of something I'm trying to do to try and get myself better at being disliked. I'm trying to piss people off that I like and that I know like me. I'm trying to piss off. Oh, sorry, no. I'm not afraid of pissing off my friends. I'm trying to be not afraid of pissing off my friends, because if it doesn't matter if you and I are pissed off at each other, we can still be friends. And I think that whether or not you and I are pissed off at each other has been the cause of some times when we've just not been friends in the past, and that didn't need to be the case. So I think that it's. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a way to cure the situation, because I'm trying it out right now. I don't know if it works or not, but I'm trying out the idea of people who I know I'm close with. I'm trying to piss them off so that I can get over the fact that I'm gonna piss them off eventually. So I might as well just do it rather than holding back.
Figure out where the line is.
Don't even figure out what the line is. Because there is. Don't be aware of the fact there's a line.
Yeah.
Just like if you cross a line and somebody stops being friends with you because of it, then you crossed the line a long time ago, my friend. Okay? Like, if you guys are good friends, if you are good friends with somebody, then when you cross the line, guess what? Your friend reminds you where the line is and lets you go back over. Like,
Good call.
Good call. So, yeah. Should we talk about some music?
Let's talk about some music.
Briefly.
Yeah, I forgot we hadn't got around to that.
Yeah. So, do you want to intro the bit?
Yeah. We can do it again.
Yep.
So this is songs we can't get enough of. Every week, Lawrence and I talk about songs that we've been listening to over the week that have just got. Either we love the production, or we love the lyrics, or they just get stuck in our head for some reason. And these are songs we can't get enough of. So these are updated every single week. This week's ones are already on, and you can check that out on Spotify. That's again. Why can't I do music good? Songs we can't get enough of, and I think it's a really interesting mix. It's a really cool mix,
especially this week, because we're bringing some out there stuff this week. Like I think it goes in a cycle of like every 1.5 months, you and I will just listen to something that's just a bit fucking weird.
Yeah.
And we bring it to the show, and also this relating back to what we've just said. Theo and I don't always agree on these songs, but they go on the playlist regardless, because that's what the playlist is about. The playlist is about our musical journey and us trying to not necessarily help, but extend that to other areas of our life and other people, and give you access to that as well. So there are songs on there that Theo has picked that I can listen to once and that'll be fine for me. And I'm pretty sure there'll be some songs that I've picked that are the same for Theo. But as a collective, these are songs that us as a show, as a brand, have gone, oh, actually, there's something to talk about here, and there's something that I can come back to as an idea, and yeah. So,
well, you know what though? Like, I am thinking about it. I don't think there's any of the songs that you've picked that there isn't something that I like about it, at least.
oh, there'll always be something I like about it. Like, I'll never 100% disagree with you. Like, I do believe these songs should be on the list. There's two songs. One I can't repetitively listen to because it's very long. And
Which one's that?
That's the it's the
Ruler of Everything, the Tally Hall one.
no, that one's fine because it moves through different movements. It's hold on. So one of them is Igor.
Oh yeah, I love it.
It's a great
I love
song.
it so much.
It's a great song, but it just sort of like I have to be in the mood to listen to that song. And Miracle Musical.
Oh sure.
Just because it's very long. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, with Miracle Musical, I for a little while, like I think in my head I'm still sort of view the different sections like different songs just on the same track. So it's like listening to the first three tracks of an hour.
Well, I was gonna say there's two songs on here that I don't think we talked about. There's
All
two
right.
songs on here that I think we might have put on the playlist, but then either we didn't do a show or we just skipped over because I don't remember talking about them. And that's
What are they?
well, it looks like your one is OD by Polyphia.
Ah,
And my one is The Night We Met, featuring Phoebe Bridgers by Lord Huron.
yeah.
So should we talk about those as well?
We didn't talk about those. Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you wanna? I mean, do you want to talk about the ones? Do you want to talk about those first or this week's ones?
Let's briefly talk about those because I haven't listened to your one. I haven't listened to the Polyphia one.
I see. I listened to yours, but like it was a little bit ago, wasn't it?
It was just before the Hold Steady episode. That must be
Yeah.
why we. Oh no, it was before the Hold Steady
Yeah,
episode.
we put it on hold. We put it on hold because of the album drop.
Interesting. It was approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago we missed it. So briefly, do you want to talk about Polyphia?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's an all instrumental song. I don't really have a lot to say about it, especially like without having listened to it recently.
Yeah, because that's the thing. We haven't listened to it recently. Okay, so maybe we don't listen to these. Don't talk about these songs, but just know there's two songs in there that we haven't talked about. OD and The Night We Met. I'm just going to say that The Night We Met is probably the saddest song I've ever heard, and it just completely kills me every time I listen to it, and it might do you as well. Right, on to Future Folk.
Future Folk, right. So this song, I've just, for the last couple of weeks, really, I've just been getting just the odd line from this song popping into my head. And it's less about the song than the band itself. So the band's called Future Folk, and the story of the band is that General Trias comes from a planet called Hondo, very far away, and there's a comet heading towards Hondo that's going to destroy everyone there. So his mission was to go to Earth, set off a virus that would kill all humans, so that the Hondonians could move in. And he gets to Earth, and he's just about to set off this bomb when he hears music for the first time. And he decides that this planet is worth saving because, you know, humans must deserve to live if they've managed to create something like music. So he's eventually joined by so it's General Trias and the guy who's sent to see what the hell he's up to, the mighty Kevin, and it's just in this film that they made. There's a scene before the mighty Kevin knows what music is, where he's been strapped to a chair in this guy's basement, which is full of instruments, and the guy gets out a banjo and he starts putting the finger picks on, and he's going, "Hey man, you don't need to use that. I'll just tell you whatever you want. Just put that down." And then he starts playing, and this dude's freaking out, going, "What the hell is that?" It's so good. And then they form a band.
It's on a movie, isn't it?
Yeah, so the album itself came out a while ago, and I think it's only more recently that I think it's a Netflix film. It's on Netflix, but I think it was an N film. Yeah, and I think sort of more recently, I guess probably they've crowdfunded a movie just based on, because they've got a bit of a cult following, just because they're weird. They're a niche sort of thing.
Yeah. So what's the song called again? It's called Space
Called
Worms.
Space Worms,
And it's
about a farm boy
who farmed space worms, and there's no space worms on Earth, so he can't farm them.
Space worms. You can't. So he's yeah. So it's just like the fact, their aesthetic of being a pair of aliens trying to get come to terms with being on Earth and all the differences that are in that.
Well, it's a pair of aliens playing bluesgrass music, which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
As a concept, like I can't understand how that was ever thought of.
Like, it is just so country. It's crazy country. But one of my favorite lines, which I think pretty much sums up their deal with, is well, times are tough and money's pretty tight. Had to sell my 14-legged mule. Just imagining a mule with 14 legs.
Oh, such a great song, and it's so quick. It's only 2.5 minutes long, but it feels like a full-length track.
Yeah, and there's a little banjo solo, and yeah, it's just fantastic to listen to. And the harmonies are great as well. All the country harmonies. But yeah, like I said, like there's not a lot of depth to the lyrics.
No, there is. It's like both of our songs. Neither of our songs, I should probably say, we're going to be looking into lyrics too, because they're very simplistic lyrics for both of our songs, and like one more than the other. But I think yours is deliberately simplistic lyrics.
Yeah.
I think mine are trying to be a bit deeper. Well, actually, no. I've just found a quote that disproves that. But on initial listen, I thought mine were trying to be deeper, but ended up quite simplistic. Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about yours? Because what I really loved the mix on that track.
Okay, so my track is Civilization by the French house duo Justice. One of my favorite non-real instrument bands.
one of my favorite presser spacebar bands.
They're just so good. They're just so
they
good.
Are good.
And it's so they bring a lot of disco to their music. So their first album, Across the Universe, was good as a debut album. This is the album after that, called Audio Video Disco, and it feels like H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds.
Oh.
And so this track, Civilization, is just insane because it's got so many like tempo and key changes. Key changes, maybe not, but tempo changes absolutely.
Well, there are some really interesting modulations in the vocals, in the verses.
Well, there's that harmony for talk about what you were going to talk about for the modulations in the verses.
So it's just like, I think it's just for a bar in the middle of each of the first two verses, where just the vocal line, I think it is just for that last note of the line, just slips into a different key. So it goes. I think it
does that, doesn't it?
maybe. Yeah. Like, so I feel like that it might have been like a chromatic climb, but yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you don't understand the theory, you don't understand why it's interesting, but you know that they're doing something that they're not really supposed to,
Yeah.
and that's why it's interesting.
What I find interesting is it starts off with this very 140 BPM, fall to the floor. It's so simple and is very evocative and very like all of Justice's other stuff from their first album. And then it changes tempo. It doesn't halve its tempo. It goes like 1.5 times less.
Mm.
And then in the verse, it does like doubles that tempo and then does half it does offbeat on the hi-hat as it's going through that first verse. And then somehow, like, you don't, apart from the first tempo change, you don't notice any of the other tempo changes. It just is part of this track. And in terms of the lyrics, I have a quote from Gaspard Auge for NME, and he said he wants to have a track with loads of accidents, like loads of tempo changes. As for the Dungeons and Dragon-esque lyrics, he likens them to something like a 14-year-old kid could have written at the back of class. An actual criticism the band received for the song, but De Rosnay chimes in, they took it as a compliment because this person understood everything about the song. So someone said, hey, the lyrics are fucking shit. And they're like, oh, thank you. Somebody finally noticed the lyrics are shit. That was deliberate. There's not a lot more to say about it. It has some interesting sampling. It's got some vocals from Ali Love, who first featured on the Chemical Brothers 2007 hit "Do It Again." So it's not a lot to say about this track, but if you would like to rediscover disco in a new way, I don't like disco. I do not like disco as a genre, and
I don't like disco. I love it. I don't like disco.
I don't like disco.
Fucking love disco.
I just
disco for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I definitely have it for lunch. They have those little crisps, discos.
Gotcha.
But I generally don't like disco. But the new this had the potential to bring disco back in a really good way. It didn't. But if this is the closest we're probably gonna get to disco being brought back. The world was not
ready.
I think the world was ready. The world was ready to party in 2009.
They just did what? They just didn't want it.
I guess so. I don't know what was happening in 2009. Oh, we'd just come out of a recession in the UK and the US. So I think, although we'd just come out of a recession, so I don't know why we didn't want to party. Yeah, if it wasn't ready for it then, it'll never be ready for it.
It's like disco kicked down the door and he's like, disco's back, baby. Yeah, like, dude, we're all kind of busy. Can you?
Right, should we try and break the stream by answering some questions from the wheel?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Changing.
Might as well again.
Changing screen. I've just realised I haven't tried to do this yet. So let me just hold on. Oh, it doesn't like it. Hold on. Well, I'm gonna have to do this I'm gonna have to do this a different way. What if I just delete that and then put this back in? Browser window, please. How's this we do? Window capture. And then... Nope. 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 It's not going to do it. So we're going to have to do it this way instead. We have to open. Oh, no, that's me. Open it like this. And we're going to have to do a cheeky little capture. We'll have to do a capture of the wheel.
Smart.
And we'll add the capture. And the capture will be the display capture. That is, you can see the window. You can see it. Oh no, you can't. Now you can see it. I'm just gonna make it the right sort of dimension so you can see everything. Sorry about all this. Ah, fuck! What have I done? There's another side of it that's gone missing, and I can't work out where it's gone. Hold on. Let me get this over here. Oh, you're seeing all of reality right now. And you know what? This will do. Get rid of this window here. Okay. Are you ready? You ready to spin the wheel of conversation? I'm ready. Spin the wheel of conversation. Where is it going to go? Spin the wheel of conversation.
Behold the power of random. Did you forget your own words?
No, I changed them. It's still spinning.
Oh, did you?
Although it's doing a lot better. It's doing a lot better than it did last time. You can actually see it spin. It's spinning too much. You can see it spin, and you can also kind of... Nothing's freezing, so I'm happy with this. You have frozen, but it'll catch up with itself in a second. Ooh. Okay, let's see if it comes up. Cool. Okay. So, I'm just gonna move our webcams up to the top here so we can be seen over the top of it. Okay. So the question is, why is classical music grouped in an entirely different place than pop, rock, hip hop, and jazz? I'm gonna minimize the window there and go back to our main screen. And hopefully this'll... Oh, we've lost you, mate. Lost you. Hold on. Let me fix it. I'm gonna hang up the call. We'll try the call again. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Theo's not online. I bet he is online. Bet he's... I might have to restart Skype. Theo's not online. Right, let's restart Skype. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. Just to confirm, our question is still going to be, why is classical music grouped in an entirely different place than hip-hop, rock, and jazz? There you go. Oh, no. There we go.
Oh.
Hello, you're back.
I'm back.
Baby. So yeah, why is classical music grouped in an entirely different place than hip hop, rock, and jazz?
Because hip hop, rock, and jazz all came from the blues, which started to exist when black people were brought to America and learned to play guitars and had to travel around. So the reason that the guitar is such a popular instrument today is because when people had to travel around during the Depression, if musicians had to travel around, a guitar was the instrument that you could take with you.
Yeah.
And So you got a lot of freed men who basically had nothing, and they had guitars, and they would fund themselves that way.
Mm.
But effectively, classical music was basically the only music that there was until until the oppression of black people. So in the West, that is obviously, uh, there was in African countries, obviously they already had their own music, but in the West it was sort of I guess it was a sort of a combination between their traditional singing and whatever was sort of permitted socially at the time. So it's like you probably couldn't sing a song. You wouldn't have been allowed to sing a song in your native language if you'd been brought over. It
Okay.
wouldn't be smiled upon, I imagine.
So okay, so do you think that there's I that makes so much sense to me, and I don't know why I haven't thought about it in those terms before. All I knew is that people like the people who listen to pop, rock, hip hop, jazz, they kind of now, thanks to the download age, to the accessibility age, I'm going to call it, they can kind of they decide to mix in those different circles, but there's very few that decide to branch out into the classical genre, not in a real way. Like they'll introduce classical instruments into their repertoire, but they won't go out and seek out Verdi's Requiem or Beethoven's Ninth Sonata. Like they won't at least they'll at least not go for the classics. They will go for modern composers as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, I recently watched a video about elitism in classical music, and I think the person who was doing the video kind of missed the point of it. Like they were talking about elitism of classical musicians. They didn't touch on the elitism of the audience.
Right.
So, for example, recently, classical musicians or orchestras were criticised because they didn't have enough female musicians. So the response for their response was, well, women are just not as good at playing their instrument, so that's why there are less female musicians. They were like, okay, prove it. And they were like, okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to hire musicians based on their musical ability only, and we're going to do that by auditioning people, doing blind auditions. So if you audition for an orchestra now, you will be behind a screen. You will not be seen by the people you're auditioning for. And after that, it's now orchestras are pretty much half and half for male and female. Because it turns out that it doesn't matter how it doesn't matter what genitalia you're born
Turns
with.
out women can do shit as well.
Yeah. In fact, there's a lot more women cello players because they can get it between their legs better. That sounded really bad. Oh no. It's because
typical woman.
It's because they don't have balls. Some of them do. Oh fuck. Basically, I was trying to make a ball joke. Oh shit! Do you want to do another quick one of these? Your answer, excellent. Yeah. It really, absolutely, I understand totally. So thank you.
Yeah, let's do another.
Okay, it's absolutely going to take a long time to spin. So I'm going to do a very slow version of this song. Spin the wheel of conversation. Where is it going to land? What is it going to land on? Spin the wheel of conversation. And it is. Oh shit! Okay. So, it is. What is the point in acoustic versions of songs? So, the reason I asked this is because I recently heard a song from a band from my childhood, not necessarily a band that I like, but a band from my childhood. They did an acoustic version of this particular song. I was like, hold on, this song is very different when it's not the acoustic version. Why? Why do an acoustic version? If you thought the song was better with acoustic instruments, why not just do it with acoustic instruments? If you don't think it was better with acoustic instruments, then why have an acoustic version of the song? It'd be the equivalent of saying, "Oh, here's this film. This is the film that I've done with a 9mm camera, and this is a film I've done with a 10.5mm camera." Like, or that might not be a good comparison. I guess the close example, and I know it's been done, is films that are released both a color and a black and white version, like
Well,
Logan. And I think that's the only film that I can think of that's done a color and a black and white version.
I think, yeah, I don't know, because when I was listening to, when I was a teenager, I was listening to sort of rocky stuff, but I always enjoyed a band's softer songs.
Yeah.
So like, is it called Lost in Hollywood?
Yeah.
By System of a Down. And there was like, I can't even fucking remember, but there are just a lot of artists. They had these heavy-ish or moderately heavy songs, and then just the occasional acoustic one. And the acoustic ones I always sort of attached onto. I guess it's just a different thing, and possibly they're sort of trying to appeal a little bit to people who don't necessarily think that they like that sort of music, but then they hear an acoustic version, think, oh, the lyrics are good and it's nice and pleasant. Version.
Sorry, say that again. Version. From the lyrics are good.
Yeah, so after that, they go and they listen to the album version, the proper version. And sorry, my phone just beeped. I got distracted. From there, they're like, well, I know the lyrics, I know the melody, it's good. Like, there are a couple more instruments in here than I would be used to, but effectively it's the same song.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what it is to me. Like, I enjoyed an album by a heavier band more if it had like a softer song somewhere in it.
I've also realized that a lot of acoustic versions of songs aren't actually acoustic versions. It's just that one or two of the guitars, they've decided to make acoustic guitars. Like, if there's synth in it, they won't replace it for a piano.
Yeah.
And they won't replace the bass guitar with an acoustic bass guitar. That'll still be the regular bass.
Yeah. Well, like, so there's a everything has a track that they have a strings version of, which is basically the track itself, but they've removed everything except the vocals and the strings from it. So it's exactly the same, but they've just taken out the drums and the guitars.
Yeah, Phoebe Bridgers has got an EP where she's chosen 4 songs, and essentially she's redone those songs with just a string quartet and her voice, and that it's pretty good. I guess I can understand the idea, like, because I've done acoustic versions of songs before, and I recently tried to do my latest set of recordings as acoustic songs, and God, are they fucking boring. Like,
sorry, man, just bear with me 1 second. I will be right back.
Yep, no problem. So yeah, I've done acoustic songs for, like, I guess it also depends on when you, or in what way you write your songs, because I have written songs from acoustic guitar to begin with, and they are inherently more interesting when you bring them back to being acoustic, but they're less interesting when they are modified into electric songs. So I guess I understand the point of acoustic songs being an alternative take on the same piece of music, but then I don't know why we also, as well as acoustic songs, if we're going to allow acoustic songs like we haven't already,
Allow it.
why we don't have songs that are exactly the same song but with different lyrics. And I know that Under Oath have done that. I know that on the deluxe edition of their Only Chasing Safety album, they had 3 songs which were songs from the album, but they re-performed the songs for these recordings, renamed the songs, and had different lyrics, but they were the same songs. It's really interesting.
That's really weird.
So that might be something. I know that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah.
Well, for me, so I'm working on Deep Blue right now, and the studio version is shaping up to be very different to what I wrote on my guitar. So like I like both of them, but I like so far, but I like them for different sorts of reasons. So like potentially there are a lot of people who their songs, even in heavier bands, who write a song on an acoustic guitar and then get the band together and figure out how to make it big. And like you can imagine, like if somebody
We've lost you for a second.
enjoyed sort of figuring it out and playing through it themselves. Have you lost me again?
You're back now.
Okay, cool. If like I would enjoy, like I feel like I at some point, if I released Deep Blue full studio version, I feel like at some point I'd want to release just like a really kicked back version of it that's more like what I wrote on the acoustic guitar to begin with.
I think my thought also is that it doesn't happen the other way around. You don't have someone that writes a song that's mostly acoustic guitar and go, and here's the plugged in version.
Plugged in.
Oh, right. On that note, I think it's time to end the show. Theo, do you want to plug yourself? Do you want to plug yourself in?
I'll plug myself. So my name's Theo Dehaney. You can find me Instagram at Theo Dehaney Music, and my YouTube channel Theo Dehaney.
And I am Lawrence Hobbs. You can find me at my Instagram, Lawrence Hobbs, L Hobbs Music. Sorry, I almost said my Instagram wrong. Please contact me there if you have anything you want to talk about in regards to the show, because it's where I really promote the show. And if you want to listen to some of my music, I'm on Spotify. If you search for Lawrence Hobbs, because it is my name. And the EP is called "Leave Me for Worms, Don't Leave Me for Dead." It's all right. I'm also on YouTube, so if you would like to find a place to catch up with previous episodes of Why Can't I Do Music Good, as long as it is the last 2 episodes, you can do that over on my YouTube. Some of them are still on Twitch, but I wanted a place to archive that archives for longer than 30 days. And yeah, so I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. At the moment, I don't think I'm going to be streaming next week apart from Thursday. But also we need to bear in mind that over here in the UK, things are opening up again, which means that we're going to have to start thinking about going back to work, which means that the schedule of the show might change. So please, 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 if you like this show and you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram to find out more about those changes, or on Theo's Instagram to find out more about those changes. Because I don't want you guys to have carved out an afternoon every Thursday for you to watch this show, only to have it dashed against the rocks of post-COVID England. Yeah, exactly. Dashed against the rocks of circumstance. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and hit us up at those various places. And without further ado, go. Oh wait, no, hold on. I just realised there's a tagline. There's an end for this show that I haven't used in fucking 2 months, which is
I
Which
don't
is,
remember it then.
it was so to answer the question, why can't I do music good? The answer is it doesn't matter. It's okay because neither can we. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh dear.